Okay, we are back. Day 3, video 3, how to deal with emotional eating. So we had some foundation to build the last couple of videos, and I'm sure you've been anxiously wondering how to actually do it and how to deal with it. And I hope you've had some really great discoveries as you've worked through some of the emotions you're experiencing, allowed yourself to feel them, and then sat down and thought about what food means to you and what do you want it to look like in your life, and how it's serving you and how it can serve you and how it's not serving you, and working through those emotions of how do I get rid of the not serving side, the disservice side. So today we are going to talk about how to deal with emotional eating. Okay, so we've already identified our emotions, and that's the first step, is to recognize that this is happening, to recognize that before you engage in the emotional eating episode, you recognize that emotion. And that's why I had you feel those feelings, so that you can know when that feeling is presenting itself and you're wanting to go to food, that you can recognize what it is. You can name it. You can say, hey, I know you, your anxiety. Hey, I know you, your boredom. Hey, I know you, your stress. And you can name that emotion and then do something about it. We don't have any way to do anything about it unless we know what it is and we acknowledge it. So the second step, I guess we're on the third step, is to create a conversation. Before we actually engage in the emotional eating episode, let's have a conversation about how to deal with that emotion without turning to food. Okay, so that actually is our first step. Step number 1, create a conversation with yourself. If you want to talk out loud, that's fine. I won't judge you. Tell nobody else to judge you. So I want you to create a conversation with yourself, okay? So when you are feeling an emotion and you want to go turn to food, so like let's say maybe boredom. Boredom is kind of an interesting one, right? Because maybe we don't always think of that one, but like maybe you're bored and you want to turn to food, or you're just like snacky and you're grabbing things off the counter, or whatever that emotion you're experiencing. I want you to ask yourself 4 questions, okay? So question number 1, am I biologically hungry? It seems silly, but we need to tap into our hunger levels. We need to know if we're biologically hungry. And I've talked a little bit about this. I have a course called Food Freedom that talks about, we get way more in depth here too, about recognizing what biological hunger feels like and how to deal with it and how to, I guess fulfill it, if that's the word I'd use. But for right now, because, I don't have all day, I would love to just be here and chat with you all day. But um, ask yourself, am I biologically hungry? This is the first simple question. And then you can have a yes or no answer. It's really simple, right? It's either yes or it's no. If it's yes, go get yourself some food that will serve you in that moment. So if you're biologically hungry, do you need a meal? Do you need a snack? Be mindful of the food that you grab to allow it to serve you, to allow it to reach the vision that you created in video 2, to help serve what you want food to be in your life. So then you go get food. You don't just go grab like chips on the counter and just like eat them and eat them and eat them. You have a plan. You create a plan essentially saying, okay, what is it that I need? I am biologically hungry. Now I'm going to go eat a meal. I'm going to eat a snack. I'm going to make sure that I have some good protein in that snack because that really helps me. Or carbs really help me get the energy, or fats really help me. Like, have that conversation with yourself, okay? So this is a simple yes or no, but then when you decide that it's a yes, make sure you use food to serve you. Okay, if it's a no, so we've got the yes already. If it's a no, I want you to ask yourself, what am I feeling? So this is the exact time for you to identify those emotions that you sat with in lesson 1, to recognize those emotions, to name them. Hey, I know you, your boredom, your anxiety. What are you feeling? What am I feeling? The next question you want to ask yourself is, what do I need? So we have this emotion that we're feeling. What do we need to work through that emotion? And I'm going to share a little bit more about this in a minute, but at the very basic level, what do you need? If you are bored and you're turning to food, maybe you need something to do. If you are anxious, maybe you need to go take a deep breath somewhere, or maybe you need to identify what that anxiety is. So hold that thought because we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But the fourth question I want you to ask yourself is, what is realistic? Okay. So what is realistic for you to be able to do? Sometimes we are feeling fatigued, tired, and we need a nap, but we can't get a nap. So what is realistic? Maybe you could go lay on your bed for 10 minutes. Maybe you could take a few deep breaths. Maybe you could close your eyes at your desk for 5 minutes. What is realistic? And so these really have to go hand in hand here. You ask yourself first what I need and then what is realistic. So keep these in mind. What do I need and what is realistic? And we're going to keep moving on. I hate to erase it, but oh well. There are two approaches to this, okay? So we've already decided what do I need, what is realistic. We have to approach it in two different ways. There are two ways to approach emotional eating. The first is to either distract from our emotion, and this is okay, I'm going to explain why, or deal with our emotion. And I'm going to draw this because I'm having you do a little list. Sort of. So it would be really exhausting to deal with our emotions every single day, all day long, right? To have to deal with an emotion and to like do what you need to do to like meet the needs of that emotion. It can be really tiring. And so we don't always have to deal. It's okay to have some distractions. Maybe we can't deal with it right in the moment. Maybe we're trying to like get kids running around, or like maybe we're at work and we've got a big decision to make or something. We can't always just sit down and be like, I'm going to work through this in a journal. Okay. So there are times to deal with the emotion, and there are also times to distract. And this is, as you practice, you're going to learn when those times are and when they're right. So what I want you to do is we talked about those two last questions. What am I feeling? Or what do I need? And what is realistic for me? And I want you to create a list of things that you can do when you're experiencing those emotions. So you could break it down by symptom, by emotion: stress, anxiety, boredom, sadness, worry, restlessness, whatever. Or you could just write a general list. So some of these things are like go for a walk. I missed a letter. Go for a walk. You could, I mean, these are really simple answers. Take a bath. You could play a game. You could maybe like make a fun flavored water drink. I just made that up, but like do something fun. You could, um, you know, read a book. You could watch a show. Maybe you could exercise. That might be really helpful. So there's lots of things. Let's go on. Sit down and think about it. When you're on camera, you can't always think about them in the best way. But I want you to think about, this is the key word that I want you to think about, is to seek nurturance. You're going to have to bend your head for that. Find ways to nurture you and your body. So you've got your distract, then let's write some ways down to deal. So maybe you have a counselor that you work with and maybe you call them. Maybe you journal it through. You work through this emotion. Hey, I'm having anxiety. Why am I feeling anxiety? What's going on in the world? What's happening in my life? What's happening at work? What's happening with my family, my marriage, my kids? Like, what is this anxiety stemming from? And work through it in your journal so that you can get it out. Maybe you call a friend. Maybe you need to like make peace with someone in your life and you need to call them and apologize or something. Maybe you talk it out to yourself. Maybe you just like get a voice recorder on your phone and talk it out. Whatever it is, maybe you make amends, whatever, you deal with it. And so you have this list of things that you can work through. So remember, you can't always deal with emotions all day long. It could be exhausting. Sometimes you have to distract. And these distractions help. They're good. They're not a distraction in a bad way. That's what I want you to know, is that they're a good distraction. They allow you to focus your thoughts on nurturing your body and your soul and all of that. So that is how we cope with emotional eating. Ask yourself those 4 questions, okay? What am I biologically hungry? What am I feeling? What do I need? What's realistic? And then go to your list. Have this available and go to your list and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to pull out a game, play with my kids, play with my husband. I'm going to call my neighbors. Let's play a game to help maybe distract from some of those emotions you're feeling. But maybe one morning you're like, I need to deal with this emotion. I'm going to wake up early and I'm going to journal. I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to talk. I'm going to go on a walk. I'm just going to talk into my phone and just get these feelings out. These are the ways that we deal with them. If we are bored, maybe you do have a game. Maybe you have a list of some fun things that you can do, not just your kids, not just everyone else, but you. What allows you to not feel bored? So create this list for yourself as well as the people in your life that you might need to help with. And then I will be back for our video number 4.